Good evening, everybody. This is the new Sports Outlaws podcast, and we are coming to you this week with our thoughts on the New York sports scene. Check out our other stuff later that will be posted for our picks from the NFL and some trivia fun. Okay? I am Neil. This is Danny as usual. Danny, how are you this week?
I'm doing well. We have another sport to really kind of dive into now. We've been kind of diving into preseason football. Now we got some baseball pennant races. Now we got week 1 of Giants, Jets, all of NFL to talk about. A lot to talk about. Looking forward to it.
And as we speak, the Yankees are losing 1-0. So why don't we start with our New York Yankees? The Yankees are what I see as the epitome of mediocre. They are 4-6 over their last 10. The Orioles are struggling, and they have yet to be able to capitalize on that. I do, however, like that the Martian was finally called up. And to give you more of an idea, though, of how mediocre they have been, the major league average for runs per game are 9.1 a game. And the Yankees are clicking in over the last 10 games at a beefy 4.6. So legitimately half of what the major league average is what the Yankees are producing lately. So the offense is so hit or miss. And Judge is struggling. The Paw Patrol curse is still ringing true. But at the same time the Paw Patrol curse is ringing true, Juan Soto hasn't done much either. So what are your thoughts on are you struggling Yankees, Dan?
Yeah, no, they're, as you said, very mediocre. All of a sudden, I remember in past podcasts that we were talking about Stroman, Nestor, being terrible. And I felt like the last couple of outings, they've been pretty good. And they've been good enough, like, that we should be able to win those games. Like, they're only giving up maybe 3-4 runs in a game. And sometimes we're losing a lot of them. And as I said through past episodes, the offense is going to have to carry. Except for Garrett Cole, who looks like he's somewhat rounding into form now, we do not have that guy that's going to go out there, give us 7 innings of 1-run ball or whatever it is. And with Judge and Soto struggling, I believe I saw something before that I believe since the last time Judge hit a home run, which I think is like August 26th now, I want to say. Soto and Judge are batting like 203, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more evident every day. I know Judge has had his hits, so he's not exactly like the average is still kind of there. But we need him for his power, and we need Soto for his run production. And if we do not have that, we do not stand a chance whether we get into the wild card or if we somehow back our way into the division. I don't really have so much confidence right now. I still don't have confidence in the bullpen, even though Hamilton is back and he looked good his first outing. I know Kaylee's been up and down. I know Kaylee's had a really good regular season, but in the past he hasn't looked good in the playoffs.
Weavers look good.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying to you, Weavers look good.
Yeah, Weaver's been good. I mean, I know we haven't pitched Holmes since. I don't think we've pitched him since that day, or maybe we pitched him for an inning. I think you said we pitched him for an inning, but ever since that debacle that he had, I guess last week, he's only pitched that 1 inning and he looks solid. But in order for the Yankees, it has to be Judge, it has to be Soto, and then I guess hopefully Dominguez can add on to that. He's not playing today, of course. Already, he's been up 2 games. You got Verdugo against a lefty. I don't even want to go. But it has to be Judge. It has to be Soto. If they're not hitting, we don't stand a chance.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. And if you're gonna, not that you're going into a full platoon, but if you're gonna play Verdugo, why not play Verdugo against a righty and let the switch hitter bat when you're facing a left-handed pitcher? But I mean, I guess Brian Cashman knows more than any of us anyway, right? I mean, that's how he always acts. So, to give you an idea, the Yankees in their struggles the last 10 games here, they not only are below average, half of the average their half average for runs scored per game. They're ticking in at about 8.5 hits per game. And I say that not that it's below the average, because it's not. It would actually put them in the top half of the league. That means they're not producing runs from those hits. If Judge and Soto aren't doing it, the other guys, they might get on here and there, but they are not knocking people home. And that's a huge problem. In the same time span that they would be last in the Major League Baseball in runs per game, they're also toward the top half in hits. That means they're putting people on and they're not getting them home.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I'm not sure. You said it was the 8 hits a game, but I would wonder how much are extra base hits. Is it? Are we just hitting singles? Are we just hitting like? I mean, because besides Judge and Soto, our team. I mean, I guess Stanton too. When he gets his hits, it seems like he's only getting double or home run or strikeout. Our team is a bunch of singles hitters,
Yep.
which is okay. It's fine. It's not bad. I mean, we need that. I think balance, and that was kind of the cry last year when we didn't have enough lefty batters. All of a sudden, we got a couple lefties, and now we can't hit a lefty.
Yeah,
Whatever.
sure.
So that's how I would wonder between that, because I remember we said last week that Chisholm was hitting better, Volpe was hitting better, Torres was hitting better, but still Judge and Soto were struggling. I feel like it's kind of a pick your poison thing. Like one day it could be the bad pitching, one day it's not hitting, and while the Orioles are faltering, I know the Royals are a really good team, but against the Cubs, that should have been a sweep. We actually gave up no earned runs in that series. Zero. None. We shut them out the first 2 games, and then Cole had 2 unearned runs off of Torres error in that first inning on that past Sunday. I mean, in that game, when the Cubs only scored 2 runs all in the first inning, we got to score more than 1 run off of Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon looked like Sandy Koufax up there. It looked like any great pitcher you want to put up there.
Huh.
So
Evaldi too. Why can't we ever hit guys who used to pitch for
any
us?
former Yankee, it seems like we struggled. I know Haney, we've struggled against in the past before too. Sonny Gray, I think, shut us out when he's with the Reds a few times. It just seems like it. But no matter I mean, obviously the best path is to win the division because we're going to get the 1 or the 2 seed. That means we got to buy at least into the best of 5 round.
Yeah.
But confidence is not high right now on the New York
Yep.
Yankees.
So the Yankees, not including tonight, have 16 more games left. And I did a breakdown of the remaining schedule. They got Red Sox for 4, and the Red Sox are 3-7 in their last 10 games. They got the A's for 3, who are 4-6 and are just an atrocious team. They got the Orioles for 3, who are only 5-5 in the last 10. And then you got the Pirates for 3, who are in the last 10 the best team. They're 6-4, but they're 69-76 on the year. I mean, you gotta get out of those 16 games. You have to get 9 wins, at least, probably 10. If you don't get 9 or 10, kiss the division goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously you definitely have to, because I believe the Orioles have the tiebreaker as well already.
I
I
think
think
so.
they have that wrapped up. I think they have that wrapped up already. No matter how that series goes, but so yeah, I would say 10. I mean, I think we definitely have to take 2 out of 3 in Baltimore, and then what was that? 3 more series after that. So we got to take 3, 3, and 2, something like that. But I think 10, 11 wins is what we got to look at.
Yeah.
Because the Astros, I think they're not going away. The Astros are going to be in the playoffs. The Guardians have a great bullpen. The Royals have a good hitting team and a great starting pitching. What do the Yankees have? Like, if we had to pick, I mean, Judge and Soto, I guess that's
The best
our claim to
combo,
fame.
the best 1-2 punch if they're
I guess so.
healthy and both on fire.
And the best 1-2 punch, who has been fantastic for the majority of the year, is currently struggling right now in September and not going so well.
And as it is, they're going to lose on 9/11, which is awesome. So, the last thing I wanted to say with the Yankees is, what do you think is the best? Obviously, we got 16 games left, and then obviously a playoff run, whether it's a wild card or a division. What do you think is the best outfield slash DH situation? So, like, I personally would want to see Dominguez in left, Judge in center, Soto in right, and Stanton at DH. Although I know he's not been the best from time to time, he's shown a propensity when games get more important
Playoffs.
to still be able to hit the ball.
Playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know how you can make an argument that Verdugo belongs anywhere in that conversation this year. He just, ever since April and May, he just hasn't done it. And I do think that maybe, I mean, I guess it's not going to happen this year, but maybe getting Judge out of center, putting Dominguez in center for maybe next year, and then I guess moving Soto over to left, I'm assuming, and then Judge right. They'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But I think the whole Judge Soto Dominguez has to be the best, and then Stan. Yeah.
Alrighty, so we'll move over to our small brothers over there in Queens, and we'll talk
Not
about
looking
the
so
Mets
small
for a couple.
anymore.
Yeah,
Not
not too
looking so
small anymore. They're 9-1 now, and they're 9-1, either 9-1 or 8-2 in their last 10. Because I know they won today, but I had the stat from the
I
last 10 games.
think it's 2 losses. Yeah, they lost to the Blue Jays once, and then the Reds, I think. So, but,
yeah,
2 losses still.
What is the most amazing about that the Mets are still doing this is that Lindor's actually been struggling. Over the last 13 games, he's only batting .255, and he was on an absolute tear. Before that, you're talking about 2 months where he was like a .325 batting average. So he's struggling a little bit. So I think it's time for Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso's, one of them or all of them need to carry the offense because Lindor's really carried them for the summer.
They just won't go away. Even when the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Braves are playing really well. I think they're all around 6-4, 7-3, except for the Mets who are like 8-2, 9-1. They're all playing really well, and for as well as the Mets are playing, they're still only now they're a half game up because they won today, but they're still only tied for that last wild card spot. And I think even Met fans, have been waiting almost for all of them to kind of go away, like for them to just being Met like it seems like, but they just won't, and they keep winning, and we really can't. I know their starting pitching has really been their calling card. They're between Severino, letting it up between who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Manaea, and a couple other guys. Peterson. They've just been really good.
Yeah.
And this today, actually, the Blue Jays had a no-hitter going into the 9th inning. It was 1-0, and Francisco Lindor let it off, hit a homer, and they scored 6 runs in the 9th and ran away with it. They just don't go away. They took another series. I mean, the Blue Jays aren't anything. We know that they should take a series from the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have been overrated since the last 5 years now. But they just keep going. And I think they have the Phillies, I believe, this weekend. I think they have the Phillies this weekend. So it's a big weekend for them. I mean, this is a real outside chance, but I think they're only like 6 back in the division, I want to say. Yeah, I know that they're not even thinking division at this point, but I mean, outside, you never know. But it's a big weekend, and they got the Braves. I think sometime after that for 3. I think next weekend. I want to say, and they keep coming, and it's almost they're amazing again. And I know it's a little early for that, but kudos to them.
You're gonna get Philly's best punch too, because they got Philly for 3 right now, and Philly at this moment has a 1-game lead on the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. So they do have a little bit to play for there. Want to get home field throughout. So they got the Phillies for 3, the Nationals for 3. They got the Phillies again for 4. And then they have the Braves for 3 and the Brewers for 3. The only thing that really plays in, I think, to the Mets' favor is the Brewers that last 3 games aren't going to be playing for anything. If I looked at the schedule right today when I did my research, there's no shot anybody in the Central could catch them. There's no shot they can catch the 1 seed. They'll have very, very little to play for in that last series. So maybe they are more in rest mode like the NFL in Week 18. Maybe they're more in rest mode than usually you are in baseball. So I know I originally said the Mets didn't have enough steam to get it done, but want to shout out Evan Roberts, my second favorite Nets fan, that he said there's legitimate mathematical optimism if you're a Met fan that you could finish with the number one wild card, but there is as equal of a chance that they don't finish in the playoffs at all. So it's really tight when you consider first wild card to out of the playoffs.
I think I was looking at the standings, and all the standings have like their playoff probability on there. And I want to say that the Braves were like a 60% chance to get in, and the Mets were still only like a 40% chance, which is obviously really weird. I'm guessing it's the schedule. I mean, obviously they don't have it out, but they have the Phillies for 7 games, the Braves for 3. I'm assuming. I haven't seen the Braves schedule. I'm not sure if that's easier or not, but still, I mean, with the Mets, I think they have the tiebreak over the Braves too, if I'm not mistaken. Um, that's just a little weird. I think it's a schedule, but they keep proving us wrong, and they have a bunch of underdogs that are just they're using that as their fire, being the underdogs, being like, oh, we're not supposed to be here, and they just keep going.
Yeah, the Amazings
OMG,
have been
OMG.
amazing. Yep. Oh my god. Um, as terrible as that singing was, let me talk about something else that was terrible. And the reason why I have to don a plain NFL logo as my background, as you can proudly represent your Dallas Cowboys. My New York Giants are absolutely
September.
atrocious. I promised somebody I'm a friend I am with, and he was on Facebook today, and I was talking to him, and I said, I promise I will flip out on Daniel Jones. That was atrocious, and I understand he's coming back from injury recently, and nobody really comes back from ACL as quick as he's coming back to play NFL quarterback. I get it. That being said, he was awful. I have no doubt that Drew Lock, who is terrible himself, and Tommy DeVito, who I love, but I know is at best a backup in the NFL, either one of them would have given you a better chance to win and given you more offensive momentum than what Daniel Jones gave you on Sunday. What do you think?
Okay. So, Minnesota Vikings, what do you expected them to win? Obviously, you picked them to win. How many points did you expect the Giants to score? Roughly. What would you think? Just throw me a range. 17, 20? 20 points. Sure. Whatever. I know how many did the Minnesota Vikings score on Sunday?
28.
28. Now, you kind of laid out, and I thought you were going to be positive about Daniel Jones for a second. Maybe. Just maybe silver lining, first week. I mean, it seems like I feel like in the next, we're going to talk about the Jets in a little bit, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to get a little bit of a pass from you. Just, I don't know, maybe. He had his Achilles. I know it's two different injuries, but they were both all out for the year. One had Achilles, one's an ACL. Daniel Jones, I agree. It was terrible. He was bad. Threw a pick six. I saw a stat. He's thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns since he signed the contract. I believe that's the stat that's out there. All right, they have they're in a position where they have no room to do anything wrong. They didn't have Saquon Barkley where they could just throw it to them at the backfield. Or they could just hand off to him anymore. Daniel Jones has definitely been given the keys, at least for this year, the keys to the kingdom, and he's going to be the one that has to carry. It's his first game, and the Minnesota Vikings still, I think, have a competent defense. And I don't think it should be all Daniel Jones. I think it should be more on the defense. I would think the Giants' calling card, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is their pass rush. Would you agree with that?
Well, I'm not. To me, the defense is not without blame. And although I came out firing on Daniel Jones, I can be equally mad at the defense and this defensive coordinator coming over from Tennessee that I didn't know much about anyway, and then watched him come up with a piss poor, to say nicely, defensive game plan. And his two studs, the guy that we traded for and gave the bag to, and Thibodeau, who doesn't want to answer Jordan Renan's questions for some reason. I thought it was a fair question. They did nothing. The only thing Kayvon Thibodeau did in that game was literally get a face mask penalty. That's legitimately the
I was
most
going to
effective
go
thing he
into
did in
their
the game.
stats. Brian
So,
Burns, 4 tackles.
yeah.
Kayvon Thibodeau, you said nothing. No tackles, no sacks, nothing. I know Dexter Lawrence had the lone sack of the game, but that was their only sack. And you would have thought that if they dominated the ball, that Justin Jefferson would have went off. You would have thought that he would have had like a 150-yard game. And he had, I think, 4 catches for 59 yards. Aaron Jones was running the ball over you guys. I think it's a more defense struggle. Your stars are on defense. You have
Yeah.
no stars on offense. 0. None. Not yet. It's his first game. Wan'Dale Robinson led the team in catches.
Sure. But I think
Brian
if you get him the
Burns,
ball,
you paid him a bunch of money. Thibodeau, Lawrence, there's your 3 guys right there. They have to rush the passer. If they do not rush the passer, this is going to happen over and over. No, Dory Jackson and whoever the hell your other corner is, Banks or whatever it is, Deontay Banks over there, they are not going to hold up. Now, I mean, who do they got this week? I don't know who they got this week. Who do they got this week?
The Giants.
Washington. The Commanders. Terry McLaurin. They got some good receivers over there. Terry McLaurin's over there. They traded Dotson, but they got to worry about a running quarterback now. Now you got Jaden Daniels going. It's going to have to be up to that defense if they have any chance. I don't see how you can depend on Daniel Jones to do anything great for the rest of at least the first half of the year. Go.
So, I will give you, as negative as I was on Daniel Jones, as negative as I was on the defense, I will give you at least a little bit of optimism. And I know we'll get to our picks later, but we always try to say, look how good Vegas is. I can go back to week 1 and I can show you how many games that the spread was a half a point higher set by Vegas than what finished the game. There's a reason why they are who they are and they make all the money they make. The Giants are expected to only be a 1.5 point underdog on the road. A home team usually gets 3 points. So Vegas thinks the Giants have a shot to win this game. So there's my optimism.
I'm not saying they're going Patriots 0-17. I'm not saying all that, even though the Patriots won. That's another thing. But I'm not saying all that.
Yeah.
They should win this. But I think their schedule's a lot tougher as we go on. And if they don't win this game, I think they have a chance like with 1-5, 0-6 coming, and then it's over. All hell's breaking loose. Daboll might be out. Jones is gone. Shador Sanders, here we come.
Give me Beck or give me yours. You there?
Are you?
I stopped it. I meant to pause it. Shit. Maybe I can morph that together. Fuck. I'm still.
It's all good.
We're gonna have
it's
to
still recording. You're still going.
Okay, we'll cut that out. I'll try and figure out a way to edit that. Okay. So.
Did you hear what I said? You got what I said?
Okay. No, because it was saying reconnecting on my end.
All right. So I was saying that with their schedule, 1-5, 0-6 could be coming if they lose this weekend. And if they lose this weekend, Daboll could be out by the end of the year. Daniel Jones is done. Bring in Shador Sanders. Here we come. Or whoever the quarterback is, Carson Beck, or whoever the guy is, Raiola from Nebraska. Someone's coming in.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'd rather yours from Texas if I'm tanking a season.
They're perfect. There you go.
Yeah. So our not our, but the New York Jets, let's say this. I thought the first series, not the first series, the first scoring series, the one where they had that elongated drive, I believe is what you're going to see a lot of this year. And actually the first drive where Lazard dropped the third down pass which was in his hands. I mean, that, and then you had the Brees Hall fumble, and then you have the really nice drive. Those drives, I think, are indicative of what we're going to see from the Jets this year. But here's the problem. The defense was atrocious. They were supposed to be one of the top 5 defenses in the league. They looked terrible.
Yeah, sure did.
I mean, no
Yeah.
CMC, undrafted rookie running back, and he runs down their throat.
So this is exactly what I pretty much said last week. This is like Hassan Reddick's dream, but it seems like that. I mean, Joe Douglas has kind of put his foot like in the ground, and he's ready to not even sign him. It seems like I felt like maybe wait a few other weeks. I know Chris Jones waited till like week 4 or 5 last year with his Chiefs. I think he didn't start playing until like week 7 or something like that. I want to say, or maybe he's earlier. Doesn't matter. But yeah, you're right. I have optimism for the Jets. Rodgers, when he could still sling it, obviously. That first drive looked really good. Brees looked really good. That first drive, or second drive, I think, he featured Brees. Garrett Wilson looked really good doing it. I think that Rodgers, I mean, obviously, I don't want to compare Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers, I think he looked all right, and I think he'll get his stuff together. He wasn't all that bad. I know that interception was really off with deflection, so it really wasn't too much of him. I think Brees and Wilson are going to be fine. Lazard actually had a really good game, even though he had a couple key drops in that game. They still had 89 yards, but it's their defense. And I don't think I know these last 2 years, everyone has been saying all they need is a defense, or all they need is a quarterback because their defense is top 5, 3, whatever number you want to call up there. I think that their defense is still really good. Really good. I'm not going to say they're scrubs or anything, but I think they're really good. But I think they just got their asses handed to them. And they just, all that they, Purdy was throwing the ball around, but like you said, the undrafted rookie just ran through them. I think he had 28 carries for like 120 yards or something like that, something crazy, and they just couldn't stop them. But luckily for the Jets, games get a little easier now, and hopefully they can find their rhythm as they go into the rest of the year.
Agreed. Do you want to give a quick note about your Dallas Cowboys before we get to our biggest takeaways?
Me being my negative self that I am with the Cowboys, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I actually didn't think they would win the game. But I think that's more me being negative. But I guess I know Vegas had them as underdogs too. I know they were on the road also, but I think it was still like -3, I think I want to say, or something -2 maybe. But that's normally like the home points that they give is usually 3. So we'll say there was a pick 'em, something like that. The defense was pleasantly really good, and I'm not really sure yet if that was more Deshaun Watson being washed up, or maybe the new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer is pressing the right button so far. So the offense really didn't have to do too much. Dak was fine; he was okay. CD was okay, but it was really their defense. Turpin with the special teams touchdown. Hopefully the defense, that's what's going to have to be, because Dak's not going to be able to do it on his own. Dak and CD cannot do it by themselves. And if their defense can play the way they did, I'm pleasantly surprised. But again, it's September. We know the Cowboy fan kind of wakes up and has their opinions in December and January.
So, to say, I thought that the Cowboys looked dominant as hell, almost as dominant as Philadelphia was in that Friday night game in Brazil. And I think that a game between Philly and Dallas, it will look very entertaining. The one thing I wanted to say, I don't know if you saw this on Instagram, Big Cat of Barstool said that, is it fair to say that Deshaun Watson is as good of a quarterback, or he's a better person than he is a quarterback? And obviously, knowing his history, that's what made it so funny. I was like, oh, God, that's terrible.
I didn't see that.
He's bad. He is, I know it's his shoulder, but
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think their coach is a really good coach, Stefanski,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and I just think that they're stuck with him, and I don't think he knows what to do. I know they have famous Jameis. He's over there, I think, waiting in the wings over there. But I think because their cap hit, like they can't just release him because their cap hit is ginormous because all his money's guaranteed.
Yeah,
I think they're just unfortunately for the regime before that was before Stefanski, right? That they signed Watson to that, or they traded and signed him to that deal.
I think so.
Yeah, it was probably before Stefanski even took over. I forget, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, it's really, really bad considering their team as a whole is really, really good.
Yeah,
But that quarterback, which is obviously the most important, kind of like the Jets situation from the last couple of years.
exactly. So, Danny, we're gonna just quickly before we say goodbye on our long form podcast here. We're gonna just give you two of the biggest takeaways we had from week 1 in the NFL. So, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Big one. We're gonna go with the Jordan Love injury. Jordan Love, Friday night injury, MCL. Out for at least a month probably. That's a tough one. Considering their backup quarterback is Malik Willis, who the Titans couldn't get rid of fast enough, and they just drafted him like 2 years ago. Um, it's going to be a struggle considering they're 0-1. They were kind of the darlings to be almost maybe like the Super Bowl maybe contender, like after the Lions and the 49ers, something like that. And it's going to be a struggle. I mean, I'm not, obviously they're not out of it yet because he's only going to be out maybe I would say just before Halloween, but it's going to be a struggle for them to start the season.
Yeah. And my first one I'm going to go with is the Bengals. Looked real bad. I understand Chase wasn't in the camp, and I understand that's my own personal problem for picking them in my survivor pool, like half of the rest of the gambling world. But they just did not look good. Does Chase really influence the defense? The defense couldn't beat the New England Patriots with Jacoby Brissett by themselves. Burrow couldn't do anything. I thought he would throw to some of those younger options at wide receiver or the backs out of the backfield. And I was waiting. I'm watching Red Zone. I'm like, well, they still haven't scored. What's
Yeah,
going
we're
on?
waiting. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
waiting.
yeah. So I think that's a big takeaway, especially since a lot of people thought that they were the biggest threat to the Chiefs to unseat them. A lot of people thought that. So I wasn't by myself. Okay, Dan, what's your second headline?
We're going to pump the brakes on Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. So, um, yeah, no, they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 18-10 this past week. Kirk Cousins, like Aaron Rodgers, like Daniel Jones, coming off ACL injury. So and he's on a new team. So he's going to need time to get acclimated.
Yeah.
I'm willing. I mean, I still obviously have them to win the division, and I know Pittsburgh's got a really good defense. T.J. Watt is a perennial defensive player of the year. But it's going to take some time. And I think that kind of showed when you still have, they all talked about their weapons. Oh, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. And it's going to take a little bit of time. And Kirk, just like the rest of the quarterbacks that came off injuries, are going to need some time. Drake only had 2 catches. I know Pitts had the 1 touchdown. He only had 3 catches. Bijan wasn't great either. We got to wait to see October, November how this offense develops.
Yep, agreed. He needs more time. He's not ready, and we didn't see that because barely anybody played in the preseason. So, you don't know who's ready until they get on the field, and he's not. Um, and I will finish us off with our headlines by saying that we are starting this for fun. I think we're better than we were on our first podcast. I'm sure we'll get better as time goes on. But somebody who I don't know is going to get any better at his job right now is Tom Brady. That was awful. He was awkward. He was slow to respond. I think people thought he was going to be Tony Romo and have that instant impact in the booth that everybody was talking about. He was very average and normal, to like something. It seemed like he was somebody who never spent time in a booth before, and he spent all off season working on it, and this is what he got to. What was he when he started? That's that's a bad investment if you're a Fox.
So I didn't think Fox did any favors by giving him the Browns and the Cowboys week 1, where the whole national television is watching him on the big stage. So they
Number
didn't
one
really do
team.
him any favors. Go. What happened?
Number one team. They're the number one
Yeah, the
booth
no
team now.
America's team on the 425 spot on a Sunday afternoon. It's not I mean, not doing him any favors. Now, I'm sure he probably watched Tony Romo, and maybe I know Tony had some flack at first for like he's like too like into it, and he would interrupt Nance when he was doing his calls by doing his sound effects, like his groaning and his moaning over the microphone. Maybe he was just trying stuff out. I know it's week 1, but they're gonna keep throwing him out there. And for his sake, and I guess for Fox's sake, and for Fox's investment, he's definitely got to improve as the weeks goes on.
Yep. Okay. So please stay tuned. In the last couple of days after we post this, we will also have some reels coming out about our picks for the week, and we're going to have some trivia reels that we're going to release. So hopefully that you guys comment and like those. Please share them with your friends. Send out all that stuff. Danny, say what you got to say, bud.
Yep. All right. So again, follow us on New Sports Outlaws. Follow us on X, Instagram. Subscribe to YouTube. A lot of sports coming up. We have the NBA that's going to be coming up soon in a few weeks. So we'll start to get our NBA stuff in a few weeks, starting in October. So then we have a lot of sports between. Hopefully, we're talking about baseball, basketball, and football. But we got a lot to talk about. Leave some comments. Hit some like buttons. Subscribe. All right, we have a lot coming up, a lot of reels coming up, a lot of trivia coming up, and a lot of stuff's going to be coming out. All right, so stay tuned. I'm Neil. I'm Danny. This is Neil. Till next time.